All right, today is the first day of a brand new unit for most of you, a unit that we're going to call transformations. Transformations is a general term for the types of changes that we're going to be doing in this unit. Our first transformation is called translation. Another word for translation is called a slide, but we're not going to call it a slide, we're going to call it a translation. So let me show you exactly what it is that we're going to be talking about. Now, we did this in the computer lab, so those of you who weren't there, remember that you can always come and get a set of instructions from me and go up to the computer lab and try it out on your own. So first thing we're going to do is I'm going to create a line here, or rather a line segment, and I'm going to name my 2 points here, A and B. And now we're going to measure the coordinates for point A and B. Remember, coordinates tell me exactly where those points are on my graph. These are going to be hugely important for us later on. Point A, remember, is at the point 0, 0. That's called the origin. That's an important point to know. Point B is just at some random place on my graph. Right now it's at the point 4, 2, which means from the origin I went to the right 4 and up 2 to get to point B. Now I'm going to create a polygon on my graph, or rather just some type of object. Doesn't matter specifically what kind it is. And I'm going to measure my coordinates for the vertices or points on that object. And I want you to pay close attention to where those points are. Point C is at the point negative 10, 5, which means from the origin I went to the left 10, up 5. D is at negative 7, 9, which means left 7, up 9 from the origin, and so on and so forth. Now I'm going to do something to my original segment that I drew called mark a vector. That's going to help me in my transformation today. Selecting my whole object, I'm going to come up to my transform menu and choose translate. I want you to first of all notice that I have exactly the same shape again. Nothing has been changed about this shape except its location. When I measure the coordinates for my new object, please note that I have exactly the same letter. I have another C, another D, another E, another F. However, they have these little accent marks on them called primes. So my new object is C prime, D prime, E prime, and F prime. Okay, now we're going to do something called comparing coordinates. Okay, I want you to see how do I get from negative 10, the x value on point C, to negative 6, the x value on point C prime. How would I have to get from C to C prime? I would have to add what? Another way to look at this, we might be able to see it a little better if I move it into a different quadrant. Again, let's look at C and C prime. How do I get from my x value of 3 to my new x value of 7? What would I have to add? I had to add 4. Look at the x value on point B. It's 4. I had to add 4 to get from C to C prime. How about from D to D prime, what did I have to do to get from my first x value to my second? From 6 to 10. Again, we had to add 4. How about from E to E prime, from 8 to 12? Add 4? Yep. And from 6 to 10? Again, I had to add 4. Point B is giving us how much I had to add to get from one point to the next. Now let's look at the y value on point B. Our y value is 2. Remember, from the origin to point B, that meant I had to go right 4 up 2. So we're talking about the amount we had to go up. From C to C prime, from y value to y value, I had to add 2. From D to D prime, from 8 to 10, I had to add 2. On point E, from 6 to 8, add 2. And F to F prime, 6 to 8, I again had to add 2. A couple of vocabulary words that you need to know. My original shape, we're going to call that our pre-image. And our new shape, we're going to call that the image. We'll talk more about those vocabulary terms in just a little bit. Right now, I'm going to move point B. What happened to my image as I moved point B? It moved too, right? I want you to notice my coordinates for point B now. Point B is at 5, -3. That means from the origin I had to go to the right 5 down 3. 5, -3. Keep that in mind. Now from point C to C prime, how did I get from 3 to 8? On our x values, from 3 to 8 I had to add 5. What's the value on point B? 5. Look at my y values. From 4 to 1, did I add this time? We subtracted, and what exactly did we subtract to go from 4 to 1? We subtracted 3. Look at my y value on point B. Subtract 3, or -3. How about from D to D prime? Did I add 5 to my x values and subtract 3 from my y's? You bet. How about from E to E prime? Add 5 and subtract 3? And from F to F prime, add 5 and subtract 3? That's exactly what's happening to all of our points. Now look at our pre-image and our image. In my picture, going from D to D prime, I had to go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places, and down 1, 2, 3 places to get to D prime. E to E prime, starting at point E, I had to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, and down 1, 2, 3 to get to E prime. The direction of my vector is telling me the direction I have to go from my pre-image to my image. Every single time that's going to happen. So what do you think if I move point B over here to -5, -4, what do you think we're going to do to all our x values in our points over here from C to C prime, D to D prime, and so on? I'm going to subtract 5. Does that work? Going from 3 to -2, is 3 subtract 5 -2? Is 6 subtract 5 1? Is 8 minus 5 equal to 3? And 6 minus 5 equal to 1? It worked for every single x value. How about our y value? Right? My y value is -4. Did I subtract 4 to get from 4 to 0? And from 8 to 4? And from 6 to 2? And again from 6 to 2? You bet we did. This point B is telling me exactly which direction I had to go. Now, look where point D is, and look where point D prime is in our graph. Going from D to D prime, did I go to the right this time? No, we went to the left. I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left, and down 1, 2, 3, 4. From E to E prime, I went left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and down 1, 2, 3, 4. That should hold true for every point from our pre-image to our image. What do you think would happen if point B is at negative 7, 7? Which way did I move my x values? Did I go to the right or did I go to the left? We went to the left. Positive 7 on my y values, did I go up or did I go down? We went up this time. Notice from A to B we went left 7, up 7. From pre-image to image we went left 7, up 7 to get from point to point. This is the basis of a translation. So let's talk about what's happening here. First of all, some hugely important vocabulary terms. A pre-image is an object before the transformation has happened. So that's my A, B, C shape. The image is that exact same object only after the transformation has happened. So this is my A prime, B prime, C prime image. Let's get rid of this. The arrow notation. Arrow notation is something we're going to do for each and every transformation. Let's talk about what that is. In the beginning of arrow notation, I have this set of coordinates. This set of coordinates is a general point. It's nothing specific. This can be true for any x value and any y value. These can be positive numbers, negative numbers, decimals, fractions, whole numbers. Totally doesn't matter. X and y can be any number. This stands for any point on our graph. Then notice I have an arrow. This arrow means something is changing. Something changed. And my second set of parentheses answers the question, exactly what changed? In here, remember, we either added or subtracted from our x values depending on whether we went left or right. Okay, x values go left or right. And we added or subtracted from our y values, telling us whether we went up or down. H and K, these two numbers right here, tell us exactly how far we went left or right and exactly how far we went up or down. So for instance, if I went, let's say, left 6 and up 4, my arrow notation would look like this. For every point on my graph, my x values got subtracted by 6 and my y values got added to 4. Here's where my left 6 comes in and here's where my up 4 comes in. Now that might be a little confusing, so let's look at this diagram. You need to copy this diagram down into your notes. First of all, I want you to remember the way that the axes work. We have an x-axis that goes left and right. We have a y-axis that goes up and down. So if my graph moves to the right from pre-image to image, if I went to the right, that means my x values are getting bigger, so I'm going to add a number to my x values. If my graph moves to the left, that means my x values are getting smaller, so I would subtract a number from my x. If I move my graph up, that means that my y values are getting bigger, so I would add a number to my y's. And going down, my y values get smaller, so I subtract a number from the y's. So let's look what happened here. First, you need to identify which one's your pre-image and which one's your image. That's hugely important here. Since the yellow shape is ABC and the purple shape is A prime, B prime, C prime, yellow is our pre-image, purple is our image. We're going from yellow to purple. So we want to find out exactly how far we went. Let's just look at point A and point A prime. Let's just use those points to start with. To get from A to A prime, I had to go to the right and down. How far did we have to go to the right? We went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 units to the right. We went 12 units right. Then we had to go down. How far did we have to go down? From here we went down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. We went down 7 units. Right 12, down 7. That's what I put if I have to write my transformation in words. Right 12, down 7. My arrow notation then, for every point xy, by the way, to go from B to B prime, you had to do the same thing. You had to go to the right 12 and down 7, and you had to do the same thing from C to C prime. You had to go right 12 down 7 to get from C to C prime. So to all my x values, I went to the right. My x values were getting bigger by 12, so I add 12 to my x values. For my y values, I went down 7. That means my y values are getting smaller by 7 units. So I had to subtract 7 from all my y's. In coordinates, when it asks for coordinates, it wants you to tell me exactly where A prime is, where B prime is, and where C prime is. Now notice that point A was at negative 5, 5. Point B was at negative 9, 9. And point C was at negative 8, 5. Remember, to all my x values I added 12, and to all my y values I subtracted 7. That puts A prime at 7, negative 2. That's adding 12 to all my x's, subtracting 7 from the y values. Point B is at 3, 2. Again, we added 12 to the x's and subtracted 7 from our y's. And point C is at 4, negative 2. Adding 12 to the x's, subtracting 7 from our y's. This is what it will be asking for when it asks for coordinates. Let's try one more. You can see that regular A, B, and C is here. That's our pre-image. And all our primes are to the left. That's our image. In words, let's pick a point and see exactly how far we went. Now from B to B prime, this time we went left and down. How far did we go to the left? We went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We went to the left 10. And we went down 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So in words, we can say we went left 10, down 4. In arrow notation, for every point xy, what's going to happen to our x values? We're going to subtract 10, and from all my y values, subtract 4. If we had gone up, we would have added. If we had gone right, we would have added. And finally, in coordinates, A prime is now at -2, 0. B prime is now at -6, 4. And C prime is now at -5, 0. Remember, that means from the origin we went left 5, up 0. These are the 3 things you'll be asked to do on your assignment today. Either graphing, writing the transformation in words or in arrow notation, or writing the coordinates of your image. Some things to remember before you start your assignment. A translation is simply a type of transformation. It's not the only type of transformation. You'll find that out in the coming days. Arrow notation simply shows the movement of each and every point from the pre-image to the image, and the movement of each point is the same regardless of which point you're talking about. So there's only one arrow notation for each transformation. And finally, another word for translation is slide. Remember to write down any questions so you can ask me in class. Your assignment for this topic is the translations worksheet. Good luck and have fun.